Hello, everybody, and welcome to Badgerpod Nerdcast number 42, Canuck Yuck, or Canuck Comedy, or Canadian Chuckles, or whatever you want to call it. Guffaws from the Great North. So, I am your host, Brian Martinez, and I am joined by various panelists from the Honey Badger Radio that you may and better know. So I will just, quickly, just to let you guys know who's here, all right?
Yeah, better, because you're here.
I'm going to tell you, because you got to know. All right,
yeah.
So we got the
Allison Tiemann?
Yeah, well, I'm getting to that. I'm sorry. We got the prolific Dr. Random McCam, Mike. We have Rachel, the wordsmith, Edwards, Hannah, Storytime Wallen, and Allison, the brainchild, Tiemann.
Why is it brainchild?
Because you're like the Krang of Honey Badger Radio.
Oh no, that's just not right. No,
the smart. She's the one who came up with it.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking of Krang, and that's just really unsettling. It's very unsettling.
Actually, you know what? I have found a void in my nerd knowledge. What's Krang?
Krang
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, he's from Ninja Turtles.
Oh
and he's basically a mutant
evil alien brain thing. Yeah.
I'm the evil alien brain in someone's stomach. Okay, I got you.
There you go.
I was just saying in that she is super intelligent.
But honestly, I can't stop thinking about what you proposed earlier in the show, which is that somebody just hit their head and somehow ended up here, and now you're fucking here, and you have no idea who any of us are. That's just the thing that's...
Well, if you woke up from a night of belligerent revelry and you just happen to have your computer on and it's on Honey Badger Radio, then you might as well stay and listen. That's what I say.
All right.
We're going to get something out of it.
Stick around.
We're going to noodle you right in the brain.
Yeah, well, eventually, if we can get past this intro.
We're past. The intro's done. What are you talking about?
Did you stumble here in a drunken stupor? This is the place for you.
Yes, exactly.
See if you can stay awake, folks. It's going to be great.
Yes, we are distilled and herbal and ready to entertain.
Distilled and herbal?
Herbal essences and there's bitches. She's fucking oh yes, and this fucking show she's yeah.
No.
My body is red bush.
My body is red bush.
Before we, I'm trying to be funny, in the
You're successfully being funny.
I'm being really. I'm in a mood. So before we get right into the topic of Canadian buffoonery, we're gonna look at mailbag stuff. Allison, do you have mailbag stuff ready? And also, we want to talk a little bit about other stuff we want to do on the show. But go ahead, Allison.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll bag you. Marshall has made an inquiry. I was wondering if you have heard Christopher Titus' album "Love Is Evil." It deals with his relationships with an emphasis on his divorce. The why, the court battles, the custody arrangements. He definitely doesn't pull any punches. It's a good look into the darkest depths of divorce all the way to the light at the end of the tunnel. We need comedy to get rid of our desire to kill. Christopher Titus. What do you guys think of that? I don't know. Has anybody?
I don't know. I know Wait, isn't that Christopher Titus, the stand-up comedian that had a show for a little while, or is that a different Titus?
I'm not sure, and I'm actually completely. I just pulled this.
I've never heard of this person.
Does anybody know this person? Okay.
Nope.
All right. We're gonna go to the infamous Google. Christopher Titus. All right. Christopher Todd Titus, born October 1st, 1964, is an American comedian and actor. He grew up in Newark, California.
That's the guy. He looks like the T-1000.
Okay, all right. I guess. All right. So, no, we don't actually know anything about this album, but I'm not actually sure where to go from here. But it sounds like it's very interesting. Maybe we should take a look at it, or anybody listening should take a look at it. So yeah,
I'll take a look at it. I like him. I watched his show for a little while. It was pretty funny.
Okay.
I'm all for taking a look at it.
Yeah.
Actually, I really like that statement. We need humor to help keep us from wanting to kill. Humor is a great diffuser of negative emotions or emotions that are a tension that can cause dysfunctional behavior. Hell, I used humor to get through bouts of depression when I was pregnant and couldn't take drugs for it. So
I wouldn't go so
it's
far as to
nothing.
say it stops people from killing each other, because that's what they say about religion.
Yeah, but it does
I
help.
think I'm good not killing people without any of the humor or stuff.
No, I
It
think
does help.
humor does help.
I think it makes
does
us
help
more
quite a
able to deal with certain things because usually what will happen in a stand-up show is that you go over a bunch of controversial topics and then you handle them in a situation, in a space where people feel more comfortable. And so when these things come up in your daily life, you're like, oh, okay, I'm okay with this. I can laugh at it.
The big difference between making claims like that about humor and making claims like that about religion, the religious claims are based on morality, whereas the claims about humor are based on relieving the tension in everyday life. That if it builds up and people people don't deal with their difficulties, and they don't deal with their tension, they don't deal with the emotions that do lead to dysfunctional behavior, it eventually, it's not necessarily inevitable, but it eventually becomes harder and harder to exercise self-control when you want to engage your temper, or when you want to engage, if you're depressed, like I just talked about a minute ago. There's a lot of medications they prescribe to help you get through depression. You have a combination of medications and behavioral therapies. Well, if you cannot, when you're pregnant, you're not supposed to take things like selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or I can't remember the name of the other type inhibitor that gets used. They don't like you to take those things because it can have an impact on the development of the baby. And but also being depressed can have an impact on the development of the baby. And it's very useful to be able to focus on something that'll help you not necessarily eliminate the tension or eliminate the anxiety or eliminate the depression, but mitigate it and make it manageable. And humor is probably one of the most effective behavioral means of dealing with tension-caused depression and tension-caused anger, frustration, and things like that. It doesn't eliminate the problem. It doesn't eliminate the causes behind the problem, but it can very, very well help you make it manageable for periods of time. Maybe not permanently, but for periods of time that you cannot use something that is basically a bigger hammer, a bigger tool for it.
I wonder how old humor is in terms of evolution. Yeah, chimps understand humor. Apparently, cats understand humor. So, yeah.
I think, well, that's not a definitive statement, but I think my cats have a sense of humor, and they seem to know when they're being laughed at. Because that's the moment when they get really particular about some aspect of grooming.
Cats prank each other all the time too. We had 3 cats.
Gosh.
Oh my god. They prank each other. They prank their human companions. Then if you have a dog, you can almost guarantee that the cat's favorite pastime will be pranking the dog.
Aww.
Oh gosh.
Not
We
in a
all
harsh
know
way.
that humor is a lot of comedians are usually dealing with things like depression,
Yeah.
and this is how they do it. So, but
Mhm.
look at Louis C.K. Just throwing it out there.
Okay.
And Jim Jeffries.
Some of the funniest people come from the saddest backgrounds.
Yes.
All right. Filter.
Louis C.K.'s got a lot of material about divorce, but it doesn't seem to stop his, fucking...
His feminist leanings, huh?
Yeah.
Well, he hates himself a lot.
That drives me crazy.
So
Filter 021 has made an inquiry. Why are you sighing?
No, I was just thinking about Lucy K. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I see. You're sighing about him. All right. That's I just like this filter 012. We haven't even read his letter yet, so we don't even know what kind of person. Okay. Hello, I've been an avid listener for about 6 months now, and I know your take on some movies and television shows. However, the new series Humans to me raises a few questions about human relationships and the ethical problems of replacing human labor and even prostitution with robots and the like. I've also thought that the synths, the name of the robots in the series, would be a tool for MGTOW, men going their own way. In short, I would love to hear your opinion on the show. P.S. I do a crappy review.
Humans is the name of the show?
I haven't watched it.
I'm actually really curious about this final sentence. I do a crappy review?
No, I think he was saying that he did a crappy review of it and didn't adequately explain. But I think what he might be touching on is the reality that is in front of us is that eventually many people will be replaced in the workforce by robots, and of course, robotic companions will be a thing. Synthetic humans who will be doing sex work. Probably. That's probably what we're talking about here.
Well,
I don't know.
I think it's also like it's a program show. I've heard, actually, I've had a request for doing a review of Humans. And I'm actually thinking about it. I'm not sure.
I might have to watch this now.
Yeah, take a look at it. Definitely. We'll take a look and see if it triggers anything in us. Anything badgery.
Triggered.
Yeah, triggered. Okay, so if you're listening now and you have a topic suggestion, please send them to topic@badgerpod.com. That's topic@badgerpod.com. We'll read them out loud and we'll discuss them. And if they're really interesting, maybe we'll choose one to do an entire show on. So yeah, do that. I mean, we appreciate everybody who sends in mail. And did you want to discuss some of our ideas of what we're going to do with upcoming shows, Brian?
Yeah, let's throw it out there.
Let's throw it out there. Okay. All right. For those of you who have been following the show, you know that I have a current drug of choice. A drug. Oh, well, I thought Rachel would get in on that one.
The first step is admitting you have a problem, Allison.
Well, I've just admitted I have a problem, yes.
There you go. There's the first step. There you go. And now, if we're really going down the 12-step program, which I think is a load of shit, it's time to turn your life over to a higher power.
Yeah,
I think she's only admitting it now that she knows there's light at the end of the tunnel.
And here's the thing: they say that it doesn't have to actually be a god or anything; it could be anything. So I'm going to suggest a really, really big jar of peanut butter, and you turn your life over to the jar of peanut butter.
All right.
Okay.
If you pray to the jar of peanut butter, you'll get exactly the same result as if you pray to God. So
especially if you pray for a peanut butter sandwich, I'm pretty sure you can.
Wait, make that happen, eh? Is that what you're saying? I need to turn my life over to the peanut butter. Okay, all right. No, all right. Well, that it is topical because now we have learned that the show creator, one Chris Cantwell, has apparently become bored with white male characters, which explains why in the second season of *Halt and Catch Fire* he chose to focus on 2 female characters over the much bigger star power of the 2 male characters in the show. And basically to the detriment of the entire show, because although Chris Cantwell thinks he can create a female-dominated or driven storyline, he apparently can't, because nothing happens as a result of the relationship between the 2 women. Nothing. Nothing. The plot never moves forward as a result of anything that they do together. They argue and catfight and bitch over the same thing in the first episode as they are in the 7th. So, anyway, so we were thinking of doing just a Nerdcast special on that and the discussion in general of how people screw up female characters in fiction, and apparently are bored of white male characters, so they think that it just if you focus on the vaginas, it makes everything better.
I just want to say one thing. Even though I don't watch the show, that actually sounds like a fairly accurate description of working with women in general.
Yeah, that's what's infuriating about this show. I mean, the second season has hit this incredible sweet spot between love, hate, and obsession for me, because I don't know if it's a work of incredible human nuance and genius at actually looking at the human condition and describing it accurately, or if the guy is just such an idiot. He thinks that just putting two women on frame and jiggling them a bit is interesting.
Well, they do this
I will-
to pander to the people who complain, so they try to emulate the people who complain, and the people who complain are Tumblerinas.
I will modify what I said. It's not all women. I have worked with some women that have been really, really great coworkers and really, really great leaders, but it is that problem has existed in every regular workplace that I've worked in, with a couple of domineering women causing things to not move forward and constantly bitching about the same thing for months and months and months.
Oh my God, that's okay. All right.
Just saying.
Yeah, I know. I totally
chatter
understand
saying-
that. We just have to not get too much into this topic. This is just a proposal for a future topic. So,
But people in the chat are saying that we need to turn our life over to a giant vibrator.
no.
and-
I'd rather turn my life over to a cock, which I've already done. So there you go.
There you go.
There you are. Well, there's your higher power, I suppose.
Yeah.
Allison.
The planet
Get to work. Get to
I
work.
get on my knees.
Now the
Every
healing
day.
can begin, I suppose.
the planet is a giant vibrator.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Brian. What do you think of that? Do you think we should do that?
Yeah, well, no, I don't. I'm not turning my life over to a giant cock. But as far as doing the thing about the show and white people being boring and stuff, dudes, yeah, we can certainly. I think once the season is over, which it will be next weekend, that'll be the death of it, right? Like it's over, not
Oh
just.
God, this is
but it's over.
The creator has said that he's bored of his characters. I think he's also bored of writing the show, which explains why he basically torpedoed his own show.
You know, I remember when my brother used to suck at doing stuff, and he would say, when I would say, "Why do you suck so hard?" he would say, "Oh, it's not that I suck; it's just that I got bored." So there is that. He made us be bad at it, and then he's just this is his out. Well, you know what? It's just dull.
Oh yeah, and then the other thing we were talking about was just talking about why we hate TV.
Yes, I think that that would be a really interesting one. Without going too much into it, I think that TV has changed in a lot of really bad ways. It just isn't like it used to be, and there's some. I think that could be a really good conversation to have on a future show. So if you guys are listening and you have some thoughts about the direction that television has gone in, please put your thoughts in. We'd like to hear them. But we're definitely going to discuss it from our point of view too. That's it for TV. Oh, one last thing. This is episode number 42, so I think we should give a little nod to.
The meaning of life.
Yes, the meaning
Always
of
know where your towel is.
Yeah. Oh, you beat me to it, Mike. I was gonna say that.
Pick one of the other things. There's loads of them.
All right. Yes. Fine.
Do some Vogan poetry.
Well,
Yeah, that actually was pretty
oh
good.
no!
Vogan poetry right
Not
there.
oh god! No, not the Vogon poetry.
There you go.
There we go. There we are. Oh shit! I can't think of anything. I'm on the spot.
Life. Don't talk to me about life.
Oh yes. Oh Marvin.
That's the best character.
Yes, I love Marvin. He's like the best. He's just a manically depressed robot. Like is it so wrong to just feel like that he is the extension of yourself and he's not even a living being?
Do you remember? Do you remember when we mentioned that you may have been hungover and then woke up and decided to watch this show? Well, maybe you had a Pangalactic Gargle Blaster.
Yes.
And that's how you ended up here. Well, if that is the case, then please stay. Because we're actually going to get into some topics.
Don't panic.
Oh, that was
we got your
smooth,
ass
Brian.
covered. Okay.
That was
Don't
smooth.
panic.
That was smooth. You got us back on track, sort
Yes. So we're going to go away from British comedy, and we're going to go into Canadian comedy.
Which
That's
is
always a good idea.
an offshoot. We're an offshoot of you, Mike. We're an offshoot of you.
Oh no.
Half the fucking civilized world is an offshoot of us, and they've all done much better things with the planet than we have, I think.
Oh goodness.
Carry on, everyone.
No, we can't carry on because you wrote the thing, so you have to
Yes.
sing it.
We want you to sing it.
Well, it came upon me to say something about Canadian comedy, and the only Canadian show I know is Trailer Park Boys. It's one of those shows you watch because other people are watching it. And it has a certain charm, a sort of underplayed absurdity. There are three main characters, Ricky, Julian, and Bubbles. It's hard not to find Bubbles adorable. He's sort of round and friendly and naive and has huge glasses and a silly face, and he lives with cats. He's a paint-by-numbers checklist of how to make a character funny before he's even done anything. Julian is, wherever the script can allow it, holding a recently replenished glass of rum and coke. That is, to my knowledge, the only comedy quirk to which his character has been consistently assigned. Okay, that's just a juxtaposition. One character has many obvious quirks, one character has one minor quirk. This is, sort of interesting. And then there's Ricky. Ricky is a standard sort of Homer Simpson trope. He's lazy, selfish, impulsive, and legendarily stupid. He has his Rickyisms, where he says well-known phrases humorously wrong. It's all set up to and destined to be a classic character. If only they could have got an actor to play him. They are three trailer park boys doing typical trailer park things, getting drunk, growing weed, going in and out of jail and whatnot. And their main antagonists are the alcoholic ex-police officer, several other terms describing a troubled past, park supervisor Jim Leahy, and his rent boy Randy, who never wears a shirt and is humorously rotund. Now, this all sounds perfect. It sounds like exactly the kind of thing that would work for a pilot episode. Therein is the genius of Trailer Park Boys. They are 9 seasons in. Bubbles is still all of these things. Julian still has a drink everywhere he goes and is otherwise a straight character. And Ricky still shuffles around awkwardly on his mark, lumbering artlessly through the lines like a high school drama club dropout. Sorry, it's the reason the show doesn't quite grip me. At no point am I convinced, even for the sake of the moment, that this guy is in a trailer park. That is a supporting actor in an 80s Kung Fu B movie who has somehow kept it up for 9 seasons. And it's not as though My Name is Earl relied on gritty, naturalistic performances. It was even more cartoony than Trailer Park Boys. Way more. But it worked. Probably because My Name is Earl wasn't in mockumentary format. It was cartoony through and through. If you go mockumentary, you need fairly sharp acting, and it's notably missing in the case of Trailer Park Boys. But at least they're not Scientologists. Yeah, so, the format is cheap, and the actors are cheap, and these things don't necessarily gel. You might call it a clash of cut corners, eh? These were all probably shrewd financial decisions on the part of the producers. Like I say, it looks like it only works for 1 episode, but evidently it works for 9 seasons of adventures. Evidently they have some very good writers. And it's probably only bitter old fairies like me who give a shit about all the acting crap. So, yeah, carry on, everyone. So anyway, Ed the Sock. That got on TV, did it?
Ed
That
the
was
Sock.
interesting. Like you know what? Sometimes
Ed
you
the
can't tell when
Sock?
you're finished, Brian. I'm right. It's like you're just like.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I could either come in and we could all be all lovey-dovey about how good Canadian comedy
No,
is.
no,
Probably is.
that's not.
But I
have
thought it
no
would be more
problem.
juicy
Just,
if I came in being a bit
Mike,
salty.
I have absolutely no problem with your salt.
Salty.
Yeah, but it's just like the end was like Ed the Sock, and I'm like, is that the end, or is it?
Wait,
not
what
the end?
exactly
is
is
he
Ed the
segueing
Sock?
into something about
What
Ed
exactly
the
is
Sock? Ed the Sock?
what exactly is Ed the Sock?
I did a video response to him the other week with apparently that thing was on TV. Yeah,
Really?
that guy had a TV show.
Oh yeah, the sock puppets. Yes, I know. And it was. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Shit.
So that was one of my closest encounters with Canadian comedy. Is all.
Well, mind fucking.
And there are a
blown.
bunch of fucking mangina sock puppets.
Oh my god.
Oh my God! Yeah, I knew it was gonna go there.
Wait, isn't there the other
I
guy
actually
like
thought you were gonna be worse. Mike. I thought you would get a few more digs in.
What about that other guy? Oh god, I can't quite remember. He has that like fucking folding paper puppet thing. Like he's also Canadian. What is it?
Oh, that guy's gone.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know who he is. Why don't we keep it to things that people probably will know something about?
Yeah, let's go back to
I'm gonna be the asshole here.
and look at the comedy shows that we were looking at. So Trailer Park Boys, he opened up the floodgates with that. So
Well, I actually quite liked Swearnet. To be honest, I never really got into Trailer Park Boys either. So I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to be all over your ass there, Mike, because I agree with you. Ha!
Well, I was just going to say,
It was very much an academic review anyway.
Yeah, it's like
stuff.
I can watch Trailer Park Boys in moments, but I'm always sort of aware of the fact that this can't compete in a free marketplace, and I know why we got 9 seasons. It's because of goddamn Canadian content laws. So you know what, Mike? I'm not going to disagree with you. I might disagree with you if you talk about like Kids in the Hall or some parts of Saturday Night.
What's the deal with Canadian content laws?
The deal with Canadian content laws is that people have to broadcast a certain amount of Canadian content. I think it might be 30%. So that incentivizes actually creating shows that are in Canada. And they wouldn't necessarily be able to compete in a free market with the American shows because the Americans attract the better actors, perhaps. But because they have that sort of bulwark, or that they have to fill that a certain amount with Canadian content, you get shows that are a little less polished, lasting longer than they necessarily would be able to were they to be released into the wild, so to speak. So there you go. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, that explains a lot.
But there are some shows that are actually like Corner Gas. I don't think anybody here on the panel has actually watched Corner Gas.
I caught a couple of minutes of it. It doesn't have. It's very sort of quiet and very sort of slow. It's quite interesting actually.
Yeah, it's slow and it's quiet. It's got a very. I would say that it's actually based in Saskatchewan, and it's got that kind of slow, laid back, subtle humor. And the characters, it just slowly builds over the course of the half hour, and it's an interesting. I actually really like Corner Gas, and some of the stuff that I've watched on Corner Gas is absolutely hilarious. It's impossible. It's hard to say it in a radio format because
it's Pinteresque. Did I say that in a posh enough way?
I don't even know what that word means.
He's a playwright. He did very slow, quiet, often strangely absurd plays.
Yeah.
There's such a thing as a pinter pause.
Yeah,
where you pause for an absurdly long
that would be, and that sort of it sort of captures the character of the land too, because and I remember you guys were saying when you traveled through Saskatchewan it was so boring. I don't think it's boring. I live here. I like it. It's like you can look out and you can just keep looking and just quietly smile to yourself because only yourself is there.
Wait. Are you? I drove through Saskatchewan. It wasn't boring.
Oh.
It was Regina that was boring.
Regina.
that place was boring as hell. That was like nothing.
Oh yeah, it was nothing. It really
actually
was.
Southern Alberta that's really nothing. Like
but can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Can I ask a question? Is it really uncommon to see trailer parks in Canada or something? Because this is just from my perspective, because this is a weird situation. Because South Carolina, I think, is a state which has is one of the states with the most with most trailers per square mile in the United States. Well, one of the states.
It is plentiful.
Yeah,
okay,
I don't live in one, but they're not that interesting.
Before we get into Canada, and I'm also I have this inkling that South Carolina is also a place where it gets a lot of hurricanes, or not hurricanes, but tornadoes, correct?
No, not tornadoes, hurricanes though, because we're on the coast.
Okay, so somewhere in the American psyche, it made sense to make houses that move in places with lots of wind.
Or perhaps people get uprooted from their houses frequently, and that's why they end up living in caravans.
No, it's really because they're poor, and there's that's the cheapest way to get a place to live.
All right, so yes, trailers are not. I don't think they're as common in Canada. I'm not sure why. I think I'm the only Canadian on this panel, actually.
Actually, it might be because of the population density difference. It might be easier to get get your own land and build your own house, and or afford to buy a built house in Canada than it is in the United States. So what you end up in a trailer for specific reasons in the U.S. Usually you cannot get a loan to buy a house, a permanent house. But you can get a loan to buy a trailer, and you can rent a lot, but you can't necessarily get land. So financial reasons usually are behind, like, a lot of people ending up in trailers and trailer parks. And then, of course, like, retirees will live in RV parks, and there are people who just like to move around a lot that'll live in RV parks, which are slightly different from trailer parks, because you have an RV park is actually more of like recreational vehicles are like the Winnebago that you see in some of the old American TV shows. But that's probably the biggest difference, I would say, is that with the difference in population density and the greater availability of land to build on, you probably have an easier time getting homeowners loans and things like that in Canada.
This is entirely possible, because I mean, the lot that we're on now could probably fit about 4 townhouses or whatever, those little attached houses things, and it just has one house on it because land is everywhere in Saskatchewan. It's pretty much all land in Saskatchewan.
Well, it's just like in the U.S. You see a lot of people living in apartments. Like, I live in an apartment, and more people in my area, I think, live in apartments than houses.
We're surrounded by dirt.
Yep, we definitely are. Like, Brian, seriously, you should come to my house sometime. It's like land as far as the eye can see, nothing but land. That's
a lot of land.
Yeah,
I have big eyes. I can see
and trees. There's lots and lots of trees.
Yeah, there's lots of trees, and our squash is coming in really nice.
Trees.
So Canadian comedy. So like we we basically are like, okay, so there's Trailer Park Boys, which we talked a little bit about. So I watched a couple of episodes of the Red Green Show.
I sense that you don't find my squash riveting.
No,
right.
I'm trying to stay on topic. We can do a Nerdcast on squash.
Is it phallic?
You guys want to show about squash at some point?
It's more vulvic, actually.
Something tells me it's more in its element in the tactile medium.
In the tactile medium of being eaten? Certainly.
Okay.
Yeah, squash, I suppose.
No. I want you all to praise my squash.
Okay.
Is that what you're turning your life over to now?
I will praise your squash when your squash is good and ready, young lady.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm ready for that level of commitment, Allison. That's all. To praise your squash.
I can't say. I have no words. No words for the feeling of betrayal, the cold drop of pain that's currently slithering down my
you're
neck.
not supposed to put that up there, Allison.
Okay, quiet, or Brian, go take it away.
Just because you have proved yourself to us doesn't mean your squash has.
Is this an example of Canadian humor right now?
Possibly.
Is that what are we experiencing? Are you breaking the fourth wall?
I might be. I
don't know.
I'm a Canadian attempting to be humorous, but possibly failing.
Just like the pros. So no, I watched episode and a couple clips of the Red Green Show because I needed to educate myself. Because you know that Canadians can't be bothered to educate you. You have to go educate yourself. Have you ever heard that before?
So did you learn how to turn a truck into a grill?
I did learn how to take like a really shitty car that barely goes, any distance and doesn't run, but turn it and give it the loudest possible horn by attaching like several other horns to it. I also learned how to avoid the radar gun of the police by attaching a giant treadmill thing with like copper wire wrapped around a box that's got aluminum foil on it that moves on a tread so that it's just So I learned how to do some handyman stuff.
We gotta have a conclusion on that one. What the copper wire is on a box and it moves on a
So Red Green says, like the way to avoid the cops, pulling you over for speeding because they use a radar is to take a box, like a cereal box, wrap it in aluminum foil so that it's all shiny, at least on one side, then wrap that in copper wire. Then you have to attach that to a treadmill that you make out of some canvas that's wrapped around a ladder that you strap to the top of your car that is also attached to a pulley that's attached to the rear wheel, so that when you're driving, it creates this, the wheel turns the pulley, which moves the box around the treadmill. And as the box moves, it moves that's where the radar bounces off of. So it moves away, so it appears as though you're driving a little bit slower than you actually are.
This is just
it's like
proof.
It's like Wile E. Coyote wouldn't have come up with that.
This is just further proof that rednecks are wherever it is that you live, there is a version of redneck there, and this is just redneck technology at its finest. It's
the thing that has always sort of reminded me of the Red Green show is I don't know if they're still in publication because we don't get newspapers here anymore. I'm at my apartment, but the Pluggers cartoon. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that or not, but it's basically a newspaper cartoon, that was about rednecks. Would have things like, the Plugger version of a cooler, and it would show a guy in a boat with a 6-pack of beer down in the water, when he was fishing, so the water would keep the beer cool.
Oh, one other thing one other valuable lesson you get from the Red Green show is that duct tape is the absolute most necessary tool ever.
Duct tape solves everything.
It solves all
but
even though it's not very
truth.
And it really isn't that great.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I fixed the roof on my parents' house with duct tape, and it was like this was a 20-foot long crack. Well, they have a house that was a brick house. They had built a room onto a brick wall. It had been a patio, and they enclosed it. And they had a flat tar roof, which flat meaning it's slightly slanted so the rain will come off. But the seal between the brick wall and the roof had broken, had cracked. And it may have been due to the one bizarre earthquake that hit that area years and years ago, and it just slowly opened up. Or it may have been due to storm damage. But it opened up far enough that one day I was just sitting there in the family room, and water just came cascading down the wall during rain. And so I went out there up on the roof. I was, by the way, like 5 or 6 months pregnant at the time. Went up on the roof with a big roll of duct tape and duct taped it closed in preparation for getting a hold of the roofers, and it took them 2 years to show up and actually fix it, and it held the whole time.
Let me ask you guys a question that do watch the Red Green show. When did it come out? How old is it?
Oh God, that I'm not sure. I'm gonna look that up.
You guys know? It has like this.
It ran for like.
It has like this hee-haw look to it. Like I feel like it's an older show, which is related to what we were talking about earlier about just talking about television shows in general. The format, I feel like I haven't seen that for many, many years. You know how it's like on a stage and they like do like various little skits. Like Benny Hill was like that.
Yeah.
The 90s was when TV was at its zenith, wasn't it? And it'll probably never get back there because that's when millions of people really did tune in on a Saturday night.
Nobody gives a shit about TV anymore.
I remember.
Even the people who write for it don't give a shit.
First episode date, 1991.
1991. I remember, without getting too far off topic, being a little kid and sitting with the whole family on like a Sunday to watch like movies on television. It was like a family thing that we did. And you would have like decent stuff. Like I saw Carrie and Jaws and The Duel, James Bond, stuff like that. How about Kids in the Hall? You guys like that
Kids
show?
in the Hall is the thing I most associate TV show-wise with Canadian humor, because I watched that. I think I saw that. I may have seen that before I really got into watching Red Green. And by the way, for all the people dissing duct tape, you're not using it right. Duct tape sticks to duct tape. That's like the best way to use it. You wrap it completely around the thing that you're trying to fix and stick it to itself. It'll stick. It works a lot better if you do that.
So it's like rope that ties it to rope.
Well, the thing is,
Wow.
like people talk about you can't fix things that duct tape won't stick to. You can. Like half my garden is fixed with duct tape right now. You just have to use it right. But yeah, going on to Kids in the Hall. Kids in the Hall told me something about Canadian free speech laws, honestly. Because I think it's hilarious. They got away with all kinds of stuff. They got away, and the Dr. Seuss Bible being like one of the most hilarious things, and then got shut down because of a sketch about Jesus being a bad carpenter.
No, you know what they did? They definitely did some really out there shit. Like we had, Saturday Night Live and like In Living Color and Mad TV and stuff. But those things were really tame compared to the kind of things that Kids in the Hall was doing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The
Well,
chicken
it was
lady?
like the chicken lady and the cross-dressing. A lot of the.
So much
gosh.
cross-dressing. I think there were more
Monty
dresses
Python got away with that.
than regular clothes.
Yeah, actually, there was one guy who cross-dressed, and he was actually rather attractive as a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was I can't remember the name of the movie, but there was an episode where this guy, he was like supposed to be Jamaican, he was making this movie about these sex alien women that like fix everything with sex, and all of the women were guys in drag. And it was like, I forgot and they had like to rescue this guy named Sex Boy from this priest, and it was just like, wow, they got away with all of that. That's crazy. So
I think one of my favorite characters on Kids in the Hall is probably the Buddy character, the extremely gay man, his monologues. Oh boy.
apparently the attractive man you're talking about is Dave Foley, because people are shouting in the chat. Yes, Sex Girl Patrol. That's the name of the movie I was talking about.
Okay, to clarify, because it's getting asked in chat, the thing that I've got in my garden that's broken is planters that are old planters. Like some of them are actually fabric, sort of.
You have so much duct tape in your garden and on your roof, you can see your house from space.
Yes.
That's basically what it is.
Duct tape
Yes.
on duct tape on duct tape.
Reflecting the sun right back into the sun.
Duct tape.
With my attitude about duct tape fixing everything, it would be a bad idea for anybody to break into my apartment.
But the question is, can it
And I'll
fix
just leave
a
that
broken heart?
Can duct tape fix a broken heart?
Can duct tape fix a broken heart? That
Or
depends
a relationship?
It depends on your criminal tendencies.
Well, I mean, I think it could fix your relationship if you're using it right.
Yes.
Remember, are the
duct
Kids in
tape-
the Hall guys? Are they doing any work like out? Like, do they still act or anything like that? Or are they also like in the '90s, just kind of left behind and probably without jobs? That'd be kind of sad because they're pretty funny. Silence.
Well, I was going to say, one of them had to come to the United. I'm trying to remember which one it was that had to come to the United States and is still here because of alimony.
What?
Is it
Wasn't
Dave
it one of the
Foley?
Kids in the Hall? Yeah, wasn't it Dave?
It's always depressing talking about Dave Foley's divorce. It's one of the most horrific stories in the history of divorce. I
Wow.
don't
What
even want to get
happened?
into it. She divorced him when he was at the height of his fame, and then the height of his fame dropped. But so ever since then, he's had to keep her in that financial level, if you see what I mean, which has been very difficult.
Like Robin
His-
Williams.
He explained it on the Joe Rogan podcast. Yeah, you should go find it. It's from ages ago though, but yeah, it's probably got a lot of views now because it's a very sad story and a very scary story.
It's an insane story. It's the court basically decided that a man's acting career cannot wane. He can never become less employable in a subjective field like acting.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely insane. It's as insane as deciding that you can do all kinds of controversial things, but you cannot criticize Jesus' carpentry skills.
You said that Kids in the Hall did something with the Canadian free speech laws. What could you speak directly to that? I'm curious.
Well, that's my understanding, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, Allison, but it's my understanding that they were actually canceled because of that episode where they said Jesus was a bad carpenter. Like, they could do the Dr. Seuss Bible in which they referred to the Jews as being grouchy because they wore toe crampety shoes, and they could have all kinds of cross-dressing and all kinds of things that were controversial back in the 90s. They could, portray bizarre things and make all kinds of interesting statements, but that got them. That somebody apparently got mad about that, and that got them shut down.
I actually don't know about this story. I apologize. My Canadianness is deficient. I didn't receive that through the regular state osmosis.
You had one job.
What? Being Canadian?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's a job with many complicated factors. It's intricate. It's difficult.
The Canadian flag will soon be redesigned with a badger head. I mean, it's the same color scheme.
Ah.
It's so hard being Canadian, I would imagine.
It's gonna happen.
I mean, there's lots of other shows, but I want to definitely give a nod to the Mackenzie brothers, because they're pretty funny, and they were in a movie that came out in the States here called Strange Brew, but they also appeared on is it PJTV or
SCTV.
SCTV. That's yes.
Second City Television.
From whence we also got the great John Candy.
Well, also Eugene Levy.
Yes,
was
Eugene
on there.
Levy. So much came out of there.
Yes. Yeah, so I love Eugene Levy. I like
Inferno.
What's the name of the he's in all those movies, like he was in
also Jim Carrey, I think, right? Jim Carrey as well, and Mike Myers.
No, Jim Carrey wasn't on Second City Television.
No.
Where did Jim Carrey come from exactly?
No.
Explain Jim Carrey.
No. I'm saying. No.
Carrey?
I was saying he's Canadian, isn't he?
Yeah. But we're talking about people who
sorry.
came from Saturday Night, or it's not Second City Television.
I know nothing
If
about
we just talk about people from Canada, then we're gonna be here all day.
I thought we were just throwing things out there. I thought we were sorry. I'm sorry.
And Mike wanted an explanation of Jim Carrey.
No, I don't expect to get one in a million years. Don't worry. No one's ever going to get a reasonable explanation for Jim Carrey.
Second City TV is good.
When a man really loves a weed whacker, he sometimes takes that weed whacker behind the shed.
No.
And then a bit of cosmic magic leaks through, and they merge into a single entity.
I gotta interject here. Blade Runner 983 says in living color. That is actually not where Jim Carrey got his start.
No.
He did start in Canadian comedy.
Duck Soup.
Yes, Duck Soup.
Right.
Before In Living Color, there was Duck Soup.
Can I pick all this up?
Also in a movie called Once Bitten about vampires.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
I'm not the only one that's ever seen that movie.
I think I've seen that movie too. Was he a virgin?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and that was the only thing protecting him from the vampire. And...
Yes.
Okay, all right, yes, I've seen that movie. But let's pick things up a bit with a question. All
right.
So, what is your guys' favorite Canadian comedy?
Oh, I'm gonna give that one to Mike first.
Oh, I'm gonna give that one to Hannah first.
Oh God, I have to pick one.
Maybe you should pick one for all of us. Actually,
I'll tell you what. My favorite probably has to be SCTV, but I still have to give a shout out to The Vacant Lot, because there was something from The Vacant Lot that was one of the more memorable things, and my husband was just reminding me of it because it's something that I sing at home occasionally, just whenever the name Bob comes up. That there was actually a song about the name Bob from the short-lived show The Vacant Lot, and that one. But I would have to say SCTV is probably my favorite.
Sing a bit
Just
of the
all
song.
of the
Hannah.
greats that came. Oh God, your name is Bob, and there's nothing you can do. The ladies won't go out with you because your name is Bob. Oh shit! See if I can remember the rest of it. You're wearing a shirt and you're looking for a tie, and I can't remember. I never remember the next line, but you wonder why because your name is Bob. It's horrible. I know
The number of men whose name is Bob who commit suicide just goes up.
Well, it's just the thing is, like, Bob is one of the most common names. Robert is one of the most common names, and so like that song just hit this huge number of men, and I think that's probably what it was designed to do, you know, and it's like just the simplest. One of the lines in the song is, "If you put the letters backwards, it still says Bob," and the shit. What's the name of the group?
Palindrome?
Ed's. I think that was Ed's Redeeming Qualities.
No, I think that's just the name of the type of word that you're describing.
No, the group.
Not palindrome, is it? Isn't it palindrome?
Yes,
is that
it
the
is.
word?
Yeah, palindrome. Like my name is a palindrome.
Yeah, I was pondering that for a bit.
If it's spelled correctly, which most people don't, because
Well,
Hanna-Barbera is so famous that everybody thinks there's no H at the end.
Well, that was an awesome.
I didn't think about that. Holy shit.
Okay, we just blown,
you're
Rachel.
I'm palindrome high.
mind fucking blown. You're a palindrome, Hannah.
I am a palindrome.
Okay, so
Which means that if my alignment changes, I lose all of my powers.
okay.
And all the D&D nerds are going, ah!
So,
Okay.
Hannah, what did you settle on for your favorite? Is it still
It's still SCTV.
SCTV?
It's still SCTV.
All
In
right.
fact, like, to the point where some of my favorite movies, in particular my go-to movie, if we are at my house, if we are trying to decide on a movie, and we cannot decide on a movie, I will default to Uncle Buck with John Candy.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It's funny.
Let me, okay, so now, Allison, you gotta pick one. I'm making...
Actually, you know what? Oh my god. Hi, Nick.
Hey, Nick.
Can you actually talk, Nick, or are we just going to have you lurking in the background?
Hey guys, I'm here. I heard that when I heard you guys started talking about Kids in the Hall and stuff, I had to correct, like, not correct, but flesh out everything you were saying. So thanks for having me.
Well, we'll just do it. Do it. Don't just do it.
Okay, yeah. Well, with the Kids in the
us out, motherfucker.
Do it!
Sorry, the Kids in the Hall thing, like Brian brought up the Sex Girl Patrol there, and a great line from that is because it's Mike McDonald who's being who's the white Jamaican guy who's being interviewed.
That's right.
And he's and like the interviewer obviously has a problem with him highly sexualizing the women. They go, "Hey, the Sex Girl Patrol. That sounds like a very sexist title." He goes, "Thank you. I'm a very sexist person."
Yeah. That's like right in the beginning, too.
Yeah.
Takes a shit on her ideas.
And I wanted to say that Kids in the Hall, they were a very anti-social justice warrior. One of the guys in Kids in the Hall is Scott Thompson, and he's an icon of gay Canadiana. And they had a sketch where a guy was in a university, he was a teacher at a university, and he was trying to get some position filled, some volunteer, some model. And everyone's going, "Oh, why can't it be a woman? Why can't it be queer? Why can't it be disabled? Why can't it be a member of the colored community?" Finally, he breaks down. And he goes, "Because fat, black, crippled dykes are hard to find."
Okay, gay Canadiana, huh?
Yeah. He's definitely Scott Thompson. He's
I'm just
definitely
wondering what that would actually entail. Would that be like maple flavored?
Well, they
poppers?
did also have a sketch where they went to a gay bar and the guy got raped by a bear, like a bear, as in like a large hairy man, not a.
Okay. Well,
No.
in Canada there is the question, raped by a bear. It is, which specify, please.
Yeah, well, that was it. That, like the joke was the double entendre because he kept having flashbacks to when he was a kid in Scouts, and they were teaching you how to deal with a bear attack, and it was
No!
like Clay Dead and things like that. You can find all these videos on YouTube. They also had one Scott Thompson. He's asking people what people find so offensive about the word faggot. And so he's going through it letter by letter. So, well, F can be offensive for this reason, and A can be offensive for that reason. I can see that. Or rather, those are all completely inoffensive. But then he gets to the end with the two T's, and he goes, well, I can see how these are offensive, because the lowercase t's remind people of the crucifixion of Christ. So let's get rid of those, and now you're all fagos. Like, come on, fagos!
Oh, goodness. Well, which one? Okay, Nick. Since you've joined us, you've slipped in through the back door. Yeah. What's your favorite Canadian comedy show?
Obviously, Kids in the Hall. I have something on the stove. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Go ahead. Enjoy your stove time. Okay.
So now that I think about it, there's like a lot of gayness going on in Canada. How come you guys haven't started calling them Gaynadians yet? Because that's what I would have done. Like
Or Caucadians. Caucadians? Yeah, that works. Caucadians, go on.
You know what? I don't mind imputations of gayness, but could you make your portmanteau a little less stupid?
What?
Oh. Isn't it portmanteau? Isn't that how you pronounce it? God damn it! Like port.
No, that is. You nailed it. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Keep going.
Okay, go. Yeah, like it's like Canadians.
It
sounds like another country. That sounds like people from another country.
Gaynadia is the name of the country, and it's just full of faggotries everywhere.
Well, I mean, part of it.
And they're in full bloom right now.
I'm trying to think of a good portmanteau. Fagadians?
Cangadians? That's too much work.
Yeah,
Cangadian?
No, this is.
How about queer nucks?
Yeah, that's good. That's queer nucks.
Or how about Canucks? Yeah.
No, queer nucks works because you gotta have that works. It rolls off the tongue. But yeah, I'd have to say that my favorite would have to be anything Bob and Doug McKenzie. I was actually re-listening to some of their some of their comedy. Not much because I'm lazy, but I was thinking. I think I've realized something about Honey Badger Radio. I think we're actually a Canadian humor show, and furthermore, I think that me and Karen are basically Bob and Doug McKenzie, except not male. Whatever the hell we are, female, I guess. Because I was just listening to their banter, and it sounds sort of like us, guys. This is some sort of meta thing.
Right, a hell of a lot when he's explaining things.
Well, take off, you hoser.
Yeah. Yeah, and they drink a lot of beer.
We need to ask this question. What the fuck is a hoser? What the fuck is a hoser?
A hoser is someone who makes it's literally like borderline personality disorder, except funny. So like they just make a hose beast. A hose beast does that. I'm pretty sure a hoser is just a reduction of hose beast. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think that might be it. I mean, like Wayne and Garth would say hose beast, and that's more of an Illinois thing, which is where I'm from.
Okay.
So maybe that's what it is.
I've always wondered what the fuck that was.
Well, let's go to the Googles. Hoser.
Yeah, go ahead and Google it.
A foolish or uncultivated person.
Uncultivated person. Okay.
Have you guys heard of? There's a Canadian comedy classic. It's kind of esoteric. It's kind of specific to Alberta. It's called Brocket 99.
I have never heard of this.
Nope.
And I'm supposedly Albertan, so. Nope.
It's some guys made a fake radio station, like a sketch that was supposed to be from a fake radio station, because there's actually a reserve in Alberta, a native reserve called Brocket, and these guys made like a fake newscast from within Brocket. It was called Brocket 99, Rockin' the Reservation, and it was incredibly racist, and but it really pushed the envelope. But if you look it up on Google or on YouTube rather, you can find part 1. But they would have.
Since we're making obscure recommendations for Canadian humor, I'd like to throw Space Moose into the mix.
Space Moose. That was again highly offensive, highly
highly offensive. I think he got in a relationship and saw the light, and the world was lesser for it. But Space Moose has to be one of the most offensive comic series. It's a little it's not exactly very polished, but it's hilarious and disturbing all at once.
Wow, Space Moose.
Oh yeah, Space Moose.
Yeah, in the 90s, it was a comic in the University of Alberta newspaper in the 90s, and the guy who made it, I believe he's teaching physics in Texas now. But yeah, they had a whole series of like Space Moose like infiltrating the women's studies department at the U of A and ultimately like mowing them all down with an AK-47.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I think that's what got him pulled, is that he Take Back the Night March as sort of a military thing.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and he responded in that kind of a fashion. In fact, I'm looking at it now.
Sound pretty fucking base.
Yeah, it's
Really?
pretty disturbing.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got a riddle. I gotta tell it because it cracked me up. Blade Runner 1983 says, "What can you do in Saskatchewan for 2 weeks straight?"
You know what? I've heard that joke so many times.
Aww.
Yes.
Watch your dog run away.
Yeah. Can you guys do a new one? Try something a little newer.
I'm sorry.
Something that we haven't heard
Funny. Now I
so
see
many
you
times.
have all that land.
Yes. And
Land.
and squash.
Yes, and squash apparently.
And moose.
So I gotta give
trees.
a honorable mention or a mention of Chicken Lady from Kids in the Hall as a pretty funny skit character who I watched a bit where she goes to a strip joint and a rooster boy comes out and is like some guy in a rooster costume. I don't know what male stripper would dress up as a rooster, and it's more than she can handle, and she explodes, I'm assuming from some kind of orgasm, into a bunch of feathers. And all I can say is only on that kind of show would you see something like that. A woman who is part chicken that explodes.
Yeah, that was kind of a regular thing. She would usually invite like wayward young men into her apartment and like through like personal ads or something, and and then somehow either scare them off or work herself up into an explosive orgasm.
Without them actually touching her, as I remember.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't require that.
No, it doesn't. Just the thought.
One time it involved riding one of those children's like robots in the mall. You know, like one of those little like rocking horses, like robotic rocking horses in the mall. Every day I have to come to the mall and sit on the horse just like it was the day before. You know why? Why? Because I'm masturbating.
Okay, maybe we should. I think we're up in the hour here, Brian. Let's.
All right. Let's throw a couple titles out there just so that we didn't, because people are going to be in the comment section like, you didn't say this, you didn't say this. So, I like Second City TV. We mentioned Trailer Park Boys. We mentioned Kids in the Hall. Red Green. What was the thing that you were talking about? Swearnet.
Oh my God! Yes, Swearnet. Oh, you guys have got to watch it. Even if you don't like Trailer Park Boys or you never really got into it, Swearnet is so. It's the same actors that did Trailer Park Boys, but it has none of what makes Trailer Park Boys sort of unwatchable, and it's so fucking funny. If you can handle having some guy's junk rubbed into the camera lens for like a full 5 minutes.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's, or maybe that's a selling point.
Oh well, you know.
Oh God, I've unleashed the rage.
I think I can handle it.
I'm sure you can handle it.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I think you're ready.
I think
Immediately upon hearing the word junk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's actually where I'm getting my Skype.
That's how
quote
you
from.
summon me. That's exactly how you summon me. It's that you just say it somewhere, and off in the distance, my Rachel sense will tingle, and
It's like
I will
saying
appear.
Beetlejuice or
Yeah,
something.
there you go.
It's funny because in Swearnet, the guy who plays Bubbles is actually the sociopathic planner who's always dragging everyone into his scheme. Well, maybe sociopathic is the wrong word. I don't want to misuse that word, but he just doesn't give a shit, and he drags everybody into his schemes to make money. And it's just it's hilarious because Bubbles is a voice of reason in Trailer Park, but the guy who plays him is. It's something to behold what he does to his so-called friends. At one point, he gives. Well, I think this was an accident. He gives the guy who plays Ricky and the other guy acid before they're about to drive a race. And the whole premise is that they've created this online network, like this YouTube channels where people do the most insane shit just to get views. That's what Swearnet is. And they did it because they weren't allowed to swear on their show. They had this meeting with the producers of their television program, and they said you can only have this many swears in your show. And they're like, we can't. We're Canadian. We can't stop swearing. You know, fuck is basically the way we say in Canada. So it's like, and so they create their own network. And it's just, it's great. It's well paced. It's hilarious. I think I almost died at several points during that movie.
Oh, we should have opened with this one.
Yeah, maybe. Oh god, it's like I really recommend it. It actually blows a lot of Canadian humor up to this point out of the water. I don't know what they did, but they I don't know. There was some sort of spectacular turnaround with those guys. And I also like Corner Gas. I like Corner Gas because it doesn't impose.
Corner Gas, yes.
So to clarify, no, it's not necessarily making me tingle. It's just how to summon me. It's just it's how I know you're there. It's we're all part of the force which binds and penetrates us.
Okay, Hannah, you have a name drop too.
Yes, one last. The arrogant worms, which I reference anytime I run into what I would call an evangelical vegetarian. This is not a condemnation of vegetarianism. If you want to be a vegetarian. Just don't tell me I have to. And if you do tell me I have to, I will send you a link to the Arrogant Worms Carrot Juice's Murder song.
And also, I hope you don't have a green dress, Hannah. Because that would be cruel. A real green dress, that would be cruel.
I do have a real green dress.
Oh, I'm going to call PTA on you. PTE. Yeah, whatever their acronym is.
People eating tasty animals?
Yes.
It's PETA.
PETA. I'm gonna call PETA on you. I'm gonna tell them you have a green dress, Ken.
Yeah, they kill more people.
There totally needs to be a movie.
Pets. They kill more animals than they say.
And if you're wearing green, then you're oppressing green.
Yes.
Well, it's not just that, but she
totally
would have
needs to be a movie about activists getting eaten alive called PETA and the Wolf.
They even had problems with people killing like digital animals in Minecraft, and so they made a server where you can't kill any of the animals.
But it's just as mean to kill vegetables. I've like the lyrics say, I've heard the screams of the vegetables, watching their skins being peeled, grated and steamed with no mercy. How do you think that feels?
Pete is the guy that's really good with like cake decoration, right? From Hunger Games.
What?
Are we talking about something?
I'm lost.
I'm guessing that you would be against my squash, Hannah.
I'm not against the squash, just don't kill it.
Yeah, but how does it get into my stomach then? This is the end game.
Of course, I would only say that to you if you told me I had to be a vegetarian.
You know what? Okay, I think we're good.
We're gonna have to stop.
Yeah, we're gonna have to stop. We're starting
that was our show about Canadian humor.
If we stop, we die.
If you fucking like that fucking shit. If you fucking like that shit.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck to say, you know, like what, whatever.
No, but definitely though, Second City Television. If you haven't, check it out because all the legends come from there. That was my favorite.
Well,
Before we go, there is one last piece of Canadian humor that I'd like to remind everyone of, and that is the Patriarchy Party.
Oh yeah.
Made by Allison and myself and Raz. Oh boy, I suppose I'll throw a link to it in the comment section of the YouTube video after this is done. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, if anybody wants to know, we are probably even the most counterculture comedy troupe ever. We created a political campaign around the value of true patriarchy, not the shitty patriarchy that they have in the Middle East, or the patriarchy of actual feminist imagining, in which women all thank men for their sexual attentions, because God knows being able to worship the holy phallus is exactly why women are on this earth. So, and where Nick, the president of the Patriarchy Party, enjoys going on a nice sunny Sunday afternoon and snatching trucks out of the hands of little girls, and then feasting on their tears.
Okay, now I'm just imagining how he would have to extract their tears, and that's just creepy.
Yeah, we had people who thought that this was serious, that we were seriously advancing this. Even after reading that one of our platforms as the Patriarchy Party was to create a animal husbandry program in which we bred animals to be longer than they are tall, on the wiener dog model, in order to encourage phallic animal husbandry, so that the animals would look like phalluses. Now that we would want long sheep,
long
ducks,
and long cats.
Long cat, long cat.
It seems like every time you try to create the slightest bit of sarcastic satire in Canada, people completely can't understand what you're saying. It's almost
particularly sarcasm. Particularly feminists, though. Feminists do not understand humor, and the biggest indicator of that is what feminists consider to be humor.
Yeah.
Oh God!
Well, the idea that men have anything to complain about is humorous to them, or that they can be hurt at all. It's humor. Anyway, that's a.
Don't be offensive. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't be offensive. That's basically.
I thought my emphasis on breeding long cats would be offensive. Like really long cats that could stretch across
for over
the horizon.
9,000.
Yeah,
I'm saying that that's the feminist brand of comedy. Don't be offensive. Don't be offensive. And also, let's talk about situational comedy when about the problems of being a woman. Let's just do that all the time.
Well, but it also
that's the only thing
the problem
there
with
is
that
talk about that is funny.
Is that humor is a coping mechanism. It allows you to have mastery over your emotions. And feminism generally is not about the whole, not really keen on the whole women mastering their emotions thing, because they use those feels to try to extort shit out of other people. So humor is right out.
Unless it's their own kind of humor about their own kind of thing, they have this uncanny ability to switch off their ability to detect sarcasm. Which makes it even scarier and creepier in so many ways.
Yes.
Yeah, this is interesting because they will say that calling yourself a misandrist is a sarcastic use of the term, and yet they'll say, "Well, I don't believe misandry exists." Well,
I don't think they understand irony.
That's not sarcastic, because in order for something to be sarcastic, you'd have to use it sarcastic. You can't use it sarcastically unless you actually believe that it exists.
The irony in the social justice understanding of irony is that they don't understand irony.
Okay, well let's not move this out. Let's move this on out, people. Fuck.
Okay.
All right. If you fucking enjoy this show, by the way, if you enjoy listening to us prattle at each other, and I don't know what the hell we're doing.
We're discussing Canadian comedy, and Hannah's trying to crush our heads.
Crushing your heads.
Yes, we're crushing your head. We're crushing. I crush.
All right. Well, I'm going to be
crushing anybody's heads up in here.
I'm going to be on the Vanguard report with Fetal Bogan in about 45 minutes. You can find the link to that on the front page of A Voice for Men. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, good night.
Bye, Nick.
Good night, Nick. All right. So, if you enjoy this show, please consider contributing as a patron at patreon.com/honeybadgerradio with an E. That's very important. And we appreciate you if you do this because it allows us to expand our zaniness into new and ever more
Expansive.
No, not expansive. Ever more narrow, mysterious, elusive cracks in the fabric of society. Does that make sense?
Yes.
No.
There you go.
No, because there aren't cracks in fabric.
It doesn't need to make sense. You don't need to make any sense, Alison.
Yes,
You're
yes.
cool.
Donate, and we will invade your crack.
Oh no.
There you go. There's a sterling endorsement.
There we go. We'll
www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. I'm going to say this multiple times because I keep
force our way
forgetting
right,
to say it.
right in there.
We just sliver our way right in there, right where it should be, right where we need to be, just to freaking just
Get in there.
Get in there. Get in there.
Just do it.
Just do it. Just get in there.
Go in dry.
Mm.
I heard that hurts guys too. To go and try.
I will never find out. Ever.
Not if it's done right. No.
Okay, so are we ending this? Is what?
Yeah, we're ending this.
Yes.
Yeah. See you guys tomorrow.